talking about like the school shooters. Not one school shooter has high self-esteem. Now, one school shooter thinks positively of themselves because that's just not,
And they all knew, all the people around them knew, they recognized issues that were not addressed.
Yeah.
There's and it's not like school shooters is an extreme example, but just the way you described the way you grew up, and you could already identify the people around you. And today, compare, you're 29 years old, you're still green under the ears, bro. You can already see it. You're already able to look at what your mindset is and compare it to the people around you that you grew up that did not have that positive masculinity in their life.
Right.
It's always night and day. And the fact that a father is there does not mean he's present.
Right.
Because
All right, y'all. What's going on? It is your boy Easy Bake Oven. What's up, y'all? So today it's a little different. All right. Now, yeah, I used to hear ads run through my stuff for other people. All right. This is probably the first real time the ad is for me. All right. So P.S.A Prodigy Sport Advantage Stations has expanded far beyond just the podcast. It is now a writing service. All right. And at that, a ghostwriting service. So we do it anonymously and take care of your needs. All right. Homework assistant, product and profile descriptions, grant writing, resumes, cover letters, templates, books, ghostwriter book too. Anything you can think of, articles, all that good stuff. PSA the Ghostwriter Solution can do it. So go over to PSAthepodcast.com and you can see all the services there with all their descriptions. Okay, because I know I missed some. And also you can reach out to me at theprodigyperspective@gmail.com and we can take care of all of that for you too. Peace. Yeah. Okay. What's up? We are back again. Another good week. Another great week, actually. It is rainy day outside, but that don't mean y'all can get away from this work. Now, I'm excited because I have yet to talk about any topic that's related to this one today. And it might get me in trouble. It might not. It really just depends on the interview for the day. It depends on what they have to say. So it's all on them. I'm not going to take the blame this week. They're going to take the blame. All right. So first, let's get into this week's meme because I'm talking about something today that I've seen happen, and we can blame social media. We can blame the news. We can blame whatever, but it's here. So let's talk about it. So the meme is a little risque. I'll tell you that now. The meme reads, when your idols become your rivals and your idols are sexual predators or scammers, what does that say about you? Inspiration from this week comes from my boy D1 Music. And it was a comment he made on the Harley Initiated podcast where he talked about how this generation is lost and how if your North Star, as he said, is, for example, he said Jay-Z and Beyonce, and you looking for them for marriage advice, or you looking for this person on the screen who is not saying them, but just saying who is a sex offender or a person who talks about killing and stealing and robbing, and this is your idol, this is who you look up to, you can't help but to try to embody what they're doing. Right or wrong? Keep that in mind this week. Also, the Rick Ross infamous song, When Your Idols Become Your Rivals. And yeah, so inspirations this week are not too intense. Okay? Not too intense. Just kind of two things I got inspiration from. Okay, so before we get into the topic, we always have to run it through the happy hour. And so, first conversation I want to talk about in happy hour today. You heard about the fake chicken? The chicken that's grown, I talked about this briefly weeks ago, but it's lab grown meat, okay, that's made from animal cells. I got some more research on it. From animal cells, and they use the animal cells and they make chicken. So they take the chicken cells. They say it's painless. I don't know. I'm not a chicken. I wouldn't know. But they inject the chicken with it and inject the cells, and they take it to the lab and they get to work on it from there. And then they make fake chicken. Now, as of now, they claim that this will not fully be able to replace real chicken and real meats just yet. But they're saying that it's the process of giving people another choice, and that there's a restaurant in California that it is known, or not known, but they, make it known that they sell the meat this way, the clone meat, the lab meat. I ain't gonna say, can we say clone? Lab meat. And they make it known that they do that. And their restaurant, brags about it almost. The reasoning is to that it's going to save, that it was like over 9 billion chickens slaughtered in the US alone, and that is going to save chickens and save the slaughtering, and that is supposed to help the planet. Do you believe that? Do you believe they really just want to help you? Because I don't believe that. I mean, you might, but I don't. That don't sound right to me. If you're trying to save chickens from being slaughtered, hate to go there, but God created these foods for us to eat. So you don't want to slaughter the food to save the chickens, and so you're going to give us fake meat that tastes the same, supposedly, allegedly, and to save the chickens. And you don't think I believe that there was no ulterior motive, or is an ulterior motive behind that? Okay. I'll let you think of that. Now, something else I want to talk about. Happy hour, we just talk about random stuff. What happens when your family doesn't like the person you're dating? Has any ever been there before? I believe that, for me, I believe that's a red flag. I had a situation in 2016 where a lot of my friends didn't like the girl I was dating. They was like, I ain't really like her. Like, a lot of people came out in the moment and later, like, I ain't like her. I didn't know why, and I kind of ignored it. But I also had those situations with my friends where it's been like, we didn't like who he was dating or she was dating. And it was just like, something ain't right. People try to argue, was like, well, they not dating him, I am. You're absolutely right. But your friends know you, and your family knows you, and sometimes they see things you don't see. Now, there are instances where the family and friends may end up growing to like the person. That's a little different, but like just off rip, just like something ain't right about this person. Everybody don't feel the same way for no reason. Maybe it's a way that you doing something about you that it made it to where it's like, this is a little weird. You're not moving right. I don't like that. Keep that in mind, because there's something behind it. Something behind it. Something behind it. Now, the last topic I want to talk about is, it's kind of on brand with what we're talking about today, is picking back off the Rick Ross title of the song, which is when your idols become your rivals, or idols become rivals. Okay. Now, what happens when you're in the industry? We'll use me as an example. You're in the podcast industry, you're on the rise, and you've risen, and now you at the top, or not the top, but you're on your way up there, and then the podcasters who've been doing this that you may have looked up to, or in your case, say you're a rapper or a singer or some type of artist of any kind, and you get on the level with the people who were the people you looked up to. What happens when that happens? What happens when someone you looked up to becomes a great friend? What happens when someone you looked up to becomes an enemy? We see that a lot of times, even on TV, where sometimes these people get on these shows, and then the person that they looked up to or idolized, in a sense, becomes somebody that they end up not liking. What happens then? I've heard some people say that they actually didn't want to meet. They claimed that they didn't want to meet their biggest celebrity crush or things, because they said they didn't want to meet them and get a bad impression. That's something to think about. I'm trying to think, because I know with me it's going to happen. It's going to be somebody I meet that I looked up to or liked, and that I don't really care for like that. I'm interested to see who's going to be. I got an idea, but if everybody knows, anybody knows, my life is full of plot twists. So we'll see. But all right, y'all, done did enough rant today. I got a guest today, another hot fire interview, and we're going to break down some things, because I don't like how a lot of my target audience, I don't like how y'all, not say you can't look up to people, but a lot of us look up to the wrong people. sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. And we'll get into that today. So let me go ahead and introduce my guest. What is going on?
What's going on, man?
All right, so tell the people, obviously I can see your name, but for the audio only people, can you tell the people what's your name, where you from, and where do you live now?
Nico Lagan. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I've lived all over the place, especially the past year. I've been traveling the US. My girlfriend and are in an RV. We've been through 23 states, I think, now. And at the moment, we're in just the north part of Alabama. We're basically connected where Tennessee connects with Alabama.
Okay. Now, before I get into my question, I just have to speak on the RV thing. I went on a rabbit hole some months ago and I saw people living in RVs and vans. And I actually have some friends who live in RV. They're in Houston right now for the holidays and things. They'll just be here till like January. And I think they're getting an RV fixed. But I've seen people on TikTok, I heard people talk about it. Can you give us like a day in the life of what's that like?
It depends. Are you moving or not? If you're just stay, if you're not going anywhere, it's very simple. It's
Right.
like this is a second bedroom that I have. I turned it into a studio. My office is probably better than 99.9% of people. But if you're on a day that you're moving, it takes me 2 hours just to disconnect my stuff from my desk and to put it into place properly. Put the whole RV, you're probably looking at 4 to 6 hours to just prep the RV. And when I say RV, it's easier to say, but we have a travel trailer. So I have a truck, I have a Harley that I put in the back of the truck, and then I tow an 11,000 pound travel trailer behind it. So we've traveled more than 10, 11,000 miles last time I checked over the past year while hauling that massive monster. So it depends, man. If you're just living your day to day, not a big deal. If you can get used to smaller spaces, especially my girlfriend's in the other room, so it's going to be funny, but being stuck with someone day in day out, and that goes for her as much as it goes for me, right? Because we're
Yeah.
all used to having space. Like, let's say you go to work. I run my businesses from my RV, so I work from here. I'm always here. So
Yeah.
technically I'm never away from the RV unless we're doing something. I'm going to the gym, but you get what I'm saying. You have to get used to always being with someone. Somebody's always there. But the hardest thing I gotta say for a bigger guy, I'm like 6'1", about 210 right now. It's the bathroom. Bathrooms are small. Showers, I can't go. I don't fit shoulder wise. I have to take my showers sideways. So
Yeah. Well, the good part about that is like if you do have a gym membership or something, and it's like,
depends on the gym.
right. Yeah.
For having been in at least 20 to 30 different gyms over the past year, some of them I will never go in. Never. They're nasty. Most
Yeah.
gyms, what's funny is that both my girlfriend and I we work out, and she normally has a different version of the bathrooms than we do men. They take better care of the women's bathroom than they do men, or is it that women are not as nasty as guys are? I don't know. I don't clean them, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of both there. But
Watch this. I got something for you. So I used to be, what was it, 2013. It was the first summer I went home after college. The only summer I went home, the whole college, the whole summer. And that summer I was home the entire time. And I got a job at Nordstrom as one of their
sure.
custodian, whatever. Anyway, from experience, women's bathrooms are way worse, believe
Oh
it or not.
yeah, yeah.
And
That
maybe
makes
they
more
have to,
sense. That makes more sense to me too.
and so maybe I think it's just the fact of we have to clean it up more because it is so nasty, and then the smells are worse.
Uh, they have to go more often, basically, so it looks cleaner. Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get
All
what
right,
you're
so yeah, we
saying.
didn't plan on that conversation, but it's good stuff. It's good content. So now, tell us more about what you do. You kind of briefly stated it, your businesses, but tell us more about what it is that you do and your foundation and all that good stuff.
Uh, it depends, man. I do a lot of stuff. It really depends. I'm just a jack of all trades, but right now, what I do the most is I'm writing my second book. I help people grow on social media. I'm what we call a social media strategist. Let's say that I speak about masculinity in politics on a daily basis. So I've been able to grow about 100,000 followers within the span of a year. And I've been investing a lot of money over the past three, from podcasting to how to produce proper content. I used to be in high end sales prior to that. I was a sales engineer for one of the biggest telecommunication company in North America. So I spent a lot of time in front of people, in front of camera. So I help people develop their style, if you will, in front of the camera, and how to reach their audience, how to most content out there, they if you have a certain following, you reach, let's say, 90-95% of the people that see your content is your followers. My content average about 99% non-followers. So that's why I'm always able to grow all the time, and a lot of my stuff goes viral. Is I've developed a methodology on how to reach my audience that are not followers and have them follow me afterwards. So this, being an author, being this, I coach men. I want to start doing coaching martial art again, but it's hard when you're moving every month or so. It's kind of hard, but there's so many things, man. I record podcasts, probably 5 to 10 podcasts a week, and I'm a content creator. I probably release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos a day. It really depends, but normally it varies between 3 to 6, and it's all original content. And a lot of them I produce the day of, because
Mhm.
I use the news a lot, right? So,
Yeah.
but I talk a lot about masculinity. This is what I've been speaking about for 3 years, and I will continue speaking about that. My 2 books are about this. The second book is very much about the 5 virtues of a good man. So that's what I do day in, day out.
And good stuff. And we're going to definitely touch on that actually, I think, right now. So, your journey from addiction and drug dealing to become a champion for traditional masculinity is definitely inspiring. So, you kind of brought that up. So, how do you see the shift in societal perceptions of masculinity over the last decade? And how has this impacted the young men's mental health, in your opinion?
This is, you said something when you were, I'll call it a rant. I love to rant too. So your 8 minutes of rant there, you did say something about the fake meat and how people don't necessarily want what's good for you. They don't care. They really don't
Yeah.
care. They just want to make money. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And it really depends how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. Is there an issue when it comes to masculinity in today's society? Absolutely. Most men are a bunch of fucking pussies today, and they don't know what it takes in order to become a man. They're not owning. They're not accountable for their actions. They don't want to be. They want to be little girls and being able to complain day in, day out how life is not fair. This is a fact. Now, is that a symptom, or is it the problem itself? It's a symptom, because call a spade a spade. I don't trust the government, nor do I trust companies. I don't trust anybody out there that I don't know personally. And I can tell you that there is society is feminizing men. Look, over the past 10 to 20 years, our boys are being indoctrinated in school to believe. Take this for example. When I was a kid, there were P classes almost every day, because they understood that boys do not behave like little girls. We're extremely different in not only the way that we are between each other, but the way we learn. But you look at it, the education system now is designed for women, is designed for girls. If you look at all the statistics out there, they show that women are doing extremely well in school compared to our boys that are failing day in, day out. We're talking about 2 to 3 times more women graduate than boys. Can you imagine if it was the reverse? Can you imagine that was women that were failing twice as much as men? It'd be all over the place in the news. Everybody would be talking about it. So you know that there's something going on behind the curtains. There's a reason why. And if you look at history, it only makes sense. If we go from the basis that the government doesn't care for you, they care about themselves. The people that are in power care about themselves. They care about making more money, and they care about having more power. Let's call a spade a spade. And if you go from that, if you start from there, you understand that in order to gain more control, you need to be controllable. Control, there's only a certain amount of control that's possible, and you need to take it away from people. So if you're in power, you're trying to take it away from other people that are in power or from the people that you're already controlling. So you're trying to always get more control and more control away from them because it is transferred to you. How do you get more control out of people? Feminize men. Men are the first and the last line of defense. Look at anything that happens, it's always a man that comes to save the day. Every time. Look throughout history, men are disposable. We know this. You need to accept this. It's not fair, sure, but it is still a fact. We're protectors, we're providers, we're the one that make shit happen. If you look at the society today, it has been built on the back of men, off their blood, their sweat, their death. It was not built on the back of women. It was built for women by men because we care for our women. We protect our women, we protect our children. That's our nature. That's what we do. So, in order to do that, we build societies in which they can thrive. But look at what's going on today. You have a bunch of women that are talking about how they don't need men. Uh, you do realize the day we stop working for you, you're going to become the most feminine women ever. All your little feminist tendencies are going to be out the window because you're going to need men to protect you. Because life ain't easy. We don't live in, one of my buddies calls it the aquarium. We live in a fake environment that is maintained, built by people behind the curtains. Where our society today is filled with little fishes that think that everything happens by itself, that they're, because they're not contributing on a day-to-day basis, that society will just continue to flourish, although I would argue that it's not flourishing right now. On the contrary, you're starting to see the repercussions of what's going on right now. You know, they say it takes 3 generations to destroy wealth. So if the grandfather rose from nothing, made $1 million, the grandchildren are so far detached from how the money was made from the struggle that they will destroy it. And this is what we're seeing today. People, the younger, how old are you, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 29.
29. So you're oh yeah, but sorry man, you're black, you look fucking young. You'll be 60 and look like you're 30. Fucking asshole. You know what they say, sorry to say this, but black don't crack.
It
Fuck.
don't.
No, it don't. I grew up with black guys and they can all go fuck off. But you know that you're older than you look, so good on you, bro. You're gonna look great when you're 60. But the thing is that you're the generation that came after you have no idea what it takes to make this society work, and you're seeing it right now. It's the snake is eating his own tail. It's very, if you like entertainment, to me what's going on right now is entertaining, but it's dangerous. We're approaching a very dangerous time that's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
But the thing is, so my next question, which I know the answer to it because you kind of answered it,
Yep.
because I'm gonna elaborate on that. So my next question was, do you think platforms like Instagram or TikTok play a role in pushing men towards potential harmful idols? Yes, and let me get into that because as being an ex-teacher, being a teacher all the past 6 years, and just being around kids, seeing how they talk, seeing what they talk about, seeing what they're watching, and like I said, my generation, like I'm not that old, so a lot of stuff, it kind of, I feel like it started with us, the
Yeah.
younger millennials, but then it just kind of with Gen Z,
Oh,
because I'm only,
the last 10 years has been ridiculous.
yeah, and it's only gonna get worse. So in cases, we always talk about we need masculine men in, like, and I don't want to go delve into this just too deep just yet. But we always talk about we need masculine men in, like, of course, like church and
Mhm.
these different businesses. But honestly, we need masculine men across the board in education, in the banks, in every job possible, not just as the people that you expect, like the church leaders or
Mhm.
police officers and firefighters. We need them across the board. And so I think that it's imperative. We need them on social media too. A lot of these people going viral about this other stuff, but I don't want to get too ahead of it. But so I'm gonna just wait on what I got to say. All right. So now I got a few words and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. There's no right or wrong answer. You ready?
Yeah, man.
First word is idol.
Fake.
Rival.
Fake.
Masculinity.
Non existent.
Okay. So the definition, I went ahead and got two definitions for idol. So the first one is an image or representation of a god used as an object of worship. The
Mhm.
second one is a person or thing that is greatly admired, loved, or revered. The definition of rival is a person or thing competing with one another for the same objective or superiority in the same field of activity. And then masculinity, qualities or attributes regarded as a characteristic of men or boys. And the fact that you said it's non-existent is hilarious. Now, we're going to get into that, but first we have to get into the good segment, which is, what does this have to do with mental health? And obviously, we have to tie it all into all of that. But I got a question first before I get into my data. Actually, two for the first one. Your transformative solo motorcycle journey sounds like a pivotal moment in your life. Can you delve deeper into how this experience shaped your perspective on mental health and personal growth?
When's the last time you left for 3 weeks with no idea where you were going by yourself with 100 pound of gear with you?
Never.
Over the past 4.5 years, I have not lived a typical life. Like back in not 4.5, 3.5. Sorry, back in March 2020, when what happened in Canada, the restrictions were brutal, so I wasn't able to meet my customers anymore. So we were doing everything like right now online. All my meetings went from face to face to online. So I moved from the city and I moved to the middle of the woods. I have an investment property. I still have it today. That's log house, top of a mountain, middle of the woods. And I moved there by myself. I moved there with my dog, and I love the city. And I spent the 2.5 years there. And the first year and a half, I was there alone. So the motorcycle journey was great because it was my first taste to it. I've always wanted a motorcycle. That's something my parents, when I was very young, they would have. I grew up on those and always put it aside, always put it aside. But when I moved by myself, I took 3, 4, between, let's call it 4 months sabbatical from work. I really just I needed to work on myself. I needed to see what I was doing next. And I had been doing my license. I got my license on a Monday. On a Wednesday, I was picking up my bike. And within a week after that, I left by myself for 3 weeks with no experience on a motorcycle with about 100 pound of gear. And I'm like, I want to go around this area. And yeah, I did, man, thousands and thousands of miles of riding over that 3 week period. I met great people, extraordinary people actually, but I spent a lot of time alone. And this is the whole point, right? And this is what the year and a half, 1 year and a half alone, that was the start. That was because if you look at most people, we're so distracted by our life. We always have something to do. We never take time off to just say. And when I say time off, I'm not saying you sit on your ass doing nothing. I'm just saying we don't allow ourselves to be bored anymore. Like I grew up in the country. I grew up in a small, very small town, and I was used to have to occupy my time. Like my mother would kick us out and just say, "Go do something." You weren't allowed to just stay in the house and do nothing. Go
Right.
outside, go play, go find your friend, do something.
Yeah.
And it's when you're bored that you find what you're good at because you have nothing else to do than to experiment. And that was the whole point, right? And it went from me working for a corporate job to starting spending a lot of time by myself, transferring all my transferable skills that I have acquired over 20 years of corporate experience to starting my first podcast to now making a living teaching people how to do it. I've appeared on TV, I've appeared on radio, I've appeared on more than 300 or 400 podcasts over the past 3 years. I'm writing my second book in the span of 1 year. I've been traveling all over the US. And that just started because I went on that trip. Just because that trip kind of like, you know what? Why are you doing this? Why are you living like every other sucker out there? Because what's the number one regret of the dying?
Things that people regret things they never did.
Living a life that others expected of them and not the life they wanted to live. I always have that in mind. Always, every day, I think about this. I have two things in mind. Always experience new things and go after it, and make sure to live a life that you're not ashamed of when you face your maker. I want to deliver more good than bad in this world. So when I'm faced with God, my heart would be light.
Good answer. Good answer. Now, I'm gonna speak on that and I'm move and go on to the next question. So real quick, so you talked about, you forced your life to change in a sense. And
Yo,
sometimes I feel like some of us are pushed to that dramatic change. I remember I was in LA with some friends at the beginning of the year and we talked, one of my friends was talking about how her life drastically changed come from compared to what it was when she took that leap of faith. And that's kind of the step I'm in now. I'm ready for my life to drastically change. That's why I'm
mhm.
not teaching. I don't want to go back. I don't believe I won't have to, but follow my dreams. And of course, you'd rather try and do it and then it fail and then see at least say I tried versus never
It's not
knowing
gonna
what it was
fail.
like.
No, there's
It's
no
it's
failure is not even an option.
it's not
Never
right.
an option. It's never something I consider.
Yeah,
I burned bridges. I don't know if you read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
started. I have to finish it.
He talks about burning bridges is one of the concepts that he talks about, and never give yourself a road to escape. If you choose to do something, burn that fucking bridge behind you because you don't want to have anywhere else to go. The only way forward is by succeeding. So that thing to say that I'm going to succeed or not, no, it's a matter of time. It's not if I succeed, it's when I
When I
succeed.
succeed.
And it is why people quit because they
Right.
always give themselves a a way out. You know,
Yeah.
for years I had to be very careful about what I shared on social media because I was the one of the faces of the company I work for. I was the guy, I was one of the guys that was always out there representing the company. So I had to be very careful. The
Yeah.
day I stopped working, I was not employable anymore. I started talking about what I wanted to talk about. And I can tell you right now, my two fingers are way up in the air. I could not give a shit what they taught, what my old employers talk about, because I talk about them. They are the one that forced me in the situation that I'm in right now.
Mm-hmm.
They are the one that wanted me to get, you know what, let's call a spade a spade. They wanted me to get vaccinated, and I said no. I was part of the 5% of Canadian that did not want to get vaccinated, that refused to do it. And even after 20 years experience in the corporate world, they just wanted me to get vaccinated or else they would fire me. I told them, go, no problem. But the day they did that, they put me in a corner and I said, okay, cool. What are my options? I get vaccinated. Not happening. And to be very clear here, most of my girlfriend and I are the two people outside of our families that, like in our families, are not vaccinated. All my friends are vaccinated. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, that's on you. If you feel that you needed to do it, awesome, good for you. I respect your choice. But you're not going to tell me what I can and cannot do. It's not true that somebody that's overweight or obese is going to tell me I need to get vaccinated when I have a six pack and I'm 41 years old. Bro, not going to happen. Let's get to the same care of our health, then we'll talk. But the point is that they did force me. And like anything in life, what do? You have two choices. Whatever you're faced with, be a victim and blame every other people for your problems. Try to change the things you can't change by blaming others, or you suck it up and you look at your options. And that's what I did. If they didn't want me to work for them, that's fine. That's good for me. If it wasn't for them, I would not be where I am today. It's a
Yeah.
100%. I would have done it eventually because that was always on my mind, but I was working on it very slowly. The day they
Mm-hmm.
start forcing my hand, I'm like, you know what? Thank you. This is the inspiration I needed in order to do it. And now I look where I am today, and I think about all the people that are still doing the same job, working in the same office. I did the right thing. No questions about it. Like there that much regret. That's how much regret I have from leaving my job.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. They force you out, and even in my situation, which I brought up several times on this podcast last year, which never happens. The school I was working at, the charter school, after the end of the school year, it shut down. And
Mm.
so, in reality, you could go to another school. Because see, I live in Texas, so the forced vaccine, they wasn't doing that here.
Love Texas.
Yeah,
I love Texas.
they wasn't doing that here. So
Yeah.
it was like, well, of course you can go to another school. I said, let's just wing it, and we'll just see what happens. And I just so happened to start with the book club reading Think and Grow Rich. Didn't finish it. Need to get back on it because the book club just magically dissolved. But I got to chapter I think 4, and I need to finish it because I one of
Yeah.
the dude who leads it off. He always talks about how that book every time you read, well, anytime you read anything over again or watch anything over again, you're gonna catch stuff you didn't catch the first time. But he just talks about the gems he's caught reading it again. So, okay, now we
It is
talking
one of
about
those. It is one of those books that if you read, I have 3, 4 books that I will read every year, every couple of years. That's one of
yeah.
them.
Mhm.
And every time you reread it, you're a bit more wise. There's something you catch in the book that you never understood prior. And it's normally just a tiny thing. Like, oh man, I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
Those are. It's a great book. Anybody that hasn't read Think and Grow Rich, read Think and Grow Rich.
Well, now we're talking about books. So let's talk about your books. Tell us about your books that you've written and the names, where people can find them, and then tell us what did they do for your mental health as far as writing them? Like how did it help with that? How did it, anything like that?
Writing is freeing for your soul, man. Whoever's not writing, and I'm not, I had no intentions of ever writing a book, but I've been writing for 10 years, just
Yeah.
writing my thoughts. And yeah, about a year and a half ago, I started having the time again. No, let me rephrase that. I started taking the time, making the time
Yeah.
to do something with it because I felt it was important. But my first book's on purpose is for people it's for men between 35 to 45. When you've done your job, you raised your kids properly, you've done the you've done the selfless part where you took care of your kids, did a job you probably didn't even like for 20 years just to take care of your family. What then? What happens? It's exactly what happened to me about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, when I was to a point. I'm like, you know what? I've done the corporate stuff. Now it's time to really go after what I want.
Yeah.
Now it's time to do really something where I can leave my mark. And that the book is all about that. It's all about what I've been through, the discoveries I've done over the past 20 years, but especially by my time I spent alone in the woods. And it's free. Like I broke my exclusivity contract that I had with Amazon, and I just dumped it on my website. So the audiobook, which is recorded by a guy named Frank Gerard, is the only guy that agreed to swear, because my I swear in that book. Like, it's very, very me. And the dude's awesome. And the audiobook's on my under publications on my website. It's for free. You can get it. And I'm just happy to give it out. I'm just happy to give it to, if that can help people, I'm just happy to give it away. The second book I'm working on is The Five Virtues of a Good Man. This is the work I really want to do. I'm
Okay.
putting, basically, it's a blueprint of what is required for young men, fatherless men, and I'm writing it for single women, for single mothers. Because if you look, I was raised by a single mother, and if you look today, we're talking about 33 to 40% of boys are raised without their father, their biological father in the house. Depend on the study, but let's take the lowest of number, which is a third. So a third of boys right now are being raised without their fathers. And if it wasn't for the fact that I've done a lot of stupid things when I was younger, but then I went the completely opposite side of all the guys I used to hang out with, I wouldn't be here today. So it
Yeah.
is my duty. It's interesting how not having a father from the age of 14 and up has completely become my life mission, to make sure that there's less and less men that have to go through what I've been through. I can only imagine where I would be today if I would have had a father when I was 14 years old teaching me the things that I've learned over the past 25 years. Like, my life would be night and day, right? But
Yeah.
this is what the book is all about, is really helping fatherless men and single mothers. Like, because a mother, this is something that women don't like to hear, but as a woman, you cannot teach a boy how to become a man. It needs
Yeah.
a man to do that. In the
Right.
same way as a father cannot teach his daughter how to become a woman. He can't. We can't. That we're not women. We can't do it. So this book is written for that. I'm a big Stoic fan. So I've took some ancient knowledge, because let's not lie to each other. Being a tradition, that's why I call it traditional masculinity. I'm not inventing anything here. I'm just taking very old concept and reapplying them and explaining them in a way that makes sense to people today. I'm just rewording all, like, those are truth. Those are not
Yeah.
my truth. They are just truth. And I'm just rewording them in a way that make sense to people from this time, because again, we forgot. We don't know what it is to be a man anymore, and there's only one way to change that, is become accountable, take it upon our shoulders, because this is the biggest problem I see today, is not a lack of masculinity, is the fact that nobody want to be held accountable for their
None
actions.
of them.
Look
None
at
of
all the problems, like look at every single problem in society today. Every single one is going to boil down to one thing: somebody somewhere did not want to do their jobs. That's it.
them.
There's somebody somewhere that said no, not my problem, when it
Yeah.
was their problem.
Yeah.
That's so. Hopefully, by writing this book, because I want to make it simple. Like in my head, I was going to do a 3, 4, 500 page book. I'm an avid reader, so I was going to do a brick, talk about a history, and then I'm like, you know what? Screw this. A few weeks ago, I just said I'm going to keep it to 120 page blueprint, just to say those, you have 5 virtues to a good man. Those are the virtues. Those are how I found them out for myself, what I did to incorporate them in my life, and here are exercises that you need to do in order to get there. So I'm going to keep it extremely, extremely simple, so that again, mothers can do it, can plan the life of their sons, so they can incorporate masculine men in their life and understand how important it is.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And it's just it's good that you got the target audience there for single mothers, because like you said, women can't raise a man. And you made a comment about how you went the opposite way of your friends, and I have different groups of friends growing up, but it was my neighborhood friends where all of them are like, they're not there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, as kids, it's unfortunate. And I always been pretty. I feel like God has blessed me with in a great sense of discernment, and just kind of able to see things even at an early age. And I always kind of saw that them going that way.
Good
They
for
were
you.
the definition of friends. Where you know how they said back in the day that weed was a gateway drug. For them, it was.
Yeah.
It was, and in
Yeah.
most people, it's not. But for them, it definitely was.
Yeah.
And so yeah, good stuff. All right, so now I got some statistics and things. It says the concept of idolizing individuals, whether they are celebrities, influencers, or other prominent figures, is not a new phenomenon. However, with the advent of social media and the digital age, the dynamics of idolatry and its implications on mental health has evolved. For young millennial men, the figures that they idolize can significantly impact their self-perception, values, behaviors, which in turn can influence their mental well-being overall. So that's something to note about. Then it says, let's delve into the relationship between idolizing the wrong idols and the mental health of young millennial men. So the first one, it says, is influence on self-worth and self-esteem. It says that according to a study in the Journal of Youth and Adolescence, young people who idolize celebrities at an unhealthy level tend to have lower levels of self-worth and
Mm-hmm.
higher levels of anxiety and depression. Millennial men in their quest for identity often look up to those that epitomize societal definitions of success, masculinity, and attractiveness. When these ideals are unrealistic or toxic, it can lead to feelings of inadequacy or low self-esteem. The second one is peer comparison in social media. So, a report from Royal Society for Public Health in the UK titled Status of Mind indicated that platforms like Instagram, where celebrities' influence predominantly showcase an idealized version of life, can exacerbate feelings of anxiety and inadequacy among users, especially young men. So it then says the constant comparison with idols who portray a perfect life, body, or lifestyle can lead to feelings
Mm-hmm.
of FOMO, fear of missing out, negatively or affecting mental well-being. So let me give a brief intermission before I read the third one. When kids, my dad used to say this all the time. I believed him, but I really see it when kids don't have, when men, both kids in general, but especially young boys don't have a father. You can definitely tell the difference. Not all, but a lot of my friends who didn't have fathers, their discipline is just not there,
Mm-hmm.
like at all. And
Agree.
in my house, although he was a little extreme at times, I know he gonna see that, but I can say that I don't believe in excuses. I don't excuses just not realistic to me. It's like, what are you doing?
There you
Like
go.
when you have an excuse, now sometimes things do happen. Like yesterday, something did happen, but when you have an excuse, it's just like you wasn't serious.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guarantee if it was something you wanted to do, let's take it. Let's go there. If a girl hit you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you was half asleep and you wanted to go over there, you know when you had work the next morning, you probably say, you know what, I'm gonna make it happen. You would have made it work. You would make it
Mhm.
work. So when it's something you really want, you'll
It's
make it
not a
work.
priority.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It wasn't a priority. And sometimes, like I said, in your case, kind of you were pushed to that edge, even though you were going to do it eventually. In my case, I knew it was going to happen eventually. I thought it was just going to kind of magically happen and think I was going to make it happen. But we kind of journeyed into kind of like just like I'm gonna just go ahead and do this because the time is now. Whereas some people, not like us, they make excuses of why they can't do it now. Like, well, no, because I got to do this, or and I've had friends who said they want to because I went on, but when I just stopped recently drinking alcohol like that. If I do, it's very rare. I went on a 30-day cleanse, and before that, I was drinking every weekend, every other day, kind of the norm. And I've seen people who come to me and say, you know what, hey, I want to take a 30-day alcohol cleanse now. And then some of them do it and they're successful and they go back to it. But I still recommend you still should do it every so often if you're going to keep drinking. But then I had some people who do it and they'll be like, they'll have a glass of champagne. I said, well, I thought you weren't drinking. They said, well, this really ain't alcohol. I said, oh, okay.
I go for phases. I think last time I drank was last weekend. Prior to that, it was almost a year.
Yeah.
It I used to be an alcoholic. I used to drink basically every day, and
Yeah.
this was part of who I was. Most of the people that I know, like my best friend, went through that phase. He don't drink at all anymore, like
Yeah.
zero. But
Yeah.
I've been able to reincorporate it because I understand why I drink.
Right.
Super nice outside with a cigar, nice scotch, nice whiskey. You're smoking. Oh, this is beautiful. To me, it complements what I'm doing. But a lot of people need, in order to have fun, they need to alter their state of mind.
Yeah.
And this is what's sad. This is what most people do, though, unfortunately, with alcohol, weed, drugs in general. I love alternate state of mind. I'm a big fan of psychedelics and I use them through meditation and things like that because I'm looking for something. But they're not supposed to be party drugs that you're using all the time in order to feel good about yourself. If you need an escape from yourself to feel good, look at yourself in the mirror. The problem is right there. Fix what the fuck the real problem is. Again, accountability. Be
Right.
accountable that you don't like your life. That's the first step to admit it. Like any addiction programs out there will tell you, you always have to admit there's an issue. And guess what? The issue is you. Start there.
Now, let's get into the third one, which is the lack of authentic connection. Idolizing
Mm.
figures without genuine personal connections can lead to feelings of loneliness and isolation, which I think is a big issue in today's society with young people in general, but especially men. Dr. Mark D. Griffiths, in his blog on Psychology Today, mentions the extreme levels of celebrity worship might be indicative of individuals' loneliness or lack of fulfilling personal relationships.
Mhm.
So I think that's pretty clear.
Yep.
Um, what do I want to say? Let's go to the next segment, which is I challenge that. Okay. And in this segment, we kind of challenge some things and what's going on, whatever we're talking about. The main thing here is again, which is has become now one of the purposes of this podcast is hoping and pushing young mental health conscious millennial men to take accountability.
Mhm.
Now, before we get to that, I have a question for you. What are some red flags or indicators that might be idolizing or following the wrong kind of male figure? What happened? What is like some red flags do you think? And then how could this negatively influence their mental health?
It's very easy. They don't look at you in the eyes. I meet people all the time. Just the way they talk to me, I can tell.
Yeah.
Just the way, just somebody that doesn't look at you, that doesn't look in your eyes when they're speaking to you, somebody that's looking at the ground, just the way somebody talk, just somebody walks. I don't even need to talk to them. I can tell you a lot by how somebody is standing,
Yeah.
just how somebody, the tells are everywhere,
Yeah.
absolutely everywhere. There's a million tells that are indicative of issues, especially with young men today. But you know, they're all fixable though. This is the good news. Everything out there is fixable.
Everything is fixable.
Mhm.
Everything is fixable. That's actually a good segue. So
Yep.
now, can you explain how aligning with the virtues that you talk about assists men, especially those in the age group of 30 to 45, in navigating their mental health and any other crisis they may have?
I don't believe in depression. I don't believe men are depressed. Men lack purpose.
Hmm.
Men, the neighbor that just moved, the RV guy that just moved next to us, he's retired, don't have to work. His wife died 3 years ago. He's an older guy, he's probably 65ish, still working 5 days a week. Why? Because he was bored, he needed something to do. That's what men do. Take away a man's purpose. Like I say this all the time, a man, without purpose, a man's life is worthless. Like, it's meaningless. It serves no purpose. Why would we be on this planet if we don't have a reason to be here? And this is why men are so, air quote, depressed,
Yeah.
because they don't know what it is to be a man. They don't know what it entails to be a man. You're supposed to serve. A man's a leader, but he leads by serving his family. You know, you talked about leadership earlier. We all think about generals leading hundreds of thousands of men into battle. That's not what. Yes, that's a form of leadership, sure, but that's not where leadership starts. Leadership starts at home.
Yeah.
You have to be the leader of your family. You have to be the inspiration that they need. You need to be the leader of your community. Everything is changed on an individual basis and on a community level. This is where real change is made. And but you need to, again, it always comes down to accountability, accountability, accountability. Like I should have it tattooed on my forehead just to
It's
make
not
sure
too late.
people remember. Yeah, no, I tattooed all the rest, not the face. We'll keep that okay.
So now, with challenging societal norms, because like I said, I just could read off your bio that you look like you walk into places and it look like a target to be in your back. I can relate. So you're known for challenging the societal norms around, especially around masculinity. And I'm sure this is a quick answer, but how do you respond to critiques that suggest promoting traditional masculinity might perpetuate toxic behavior? And you kind of already spoke on balance, so we ain't got to go to that. So how do you think that this they would how do you respond to people saying that you would promote toxic behavior?
All the toxic behavior that are described when somebody calls a man toxic are traits related to a man that lacks masculinity. Look at every single trait. So a guy that is sexist, a guy that is violent, a guy that cannot control his emotion, a guy that is aggressive with others. Those are all traits of a man that lacks control. And as part of being a good man, you need to have temperance. You need to be courageous, you need to be a protector, a provider, you need to have temperance, and you need to have faith. But in today's world, men are not tempered anymore. You know, Dr. Peterson talks about this all the time. A man's supposed to be a monster. And you know what? I have 20 years of experience in martial art, from fighting in the ring to shooting. So anything in between, I've spent time learning. Inside of me, I'm a monster, bro. The things that I would be ready to do to defend the people that I love, there's no words for what I'm ready to do.
Yeah.
And there will be no conscious issues afterwards. I'll sleep like a baby. But this has to be controlled. That type of violence needs to be chained. That needs to be under your control, or else you see the behavior. You think that mass shooters in the US that you see all the time are masculine men? No. If you look at their background, they're all on antidepressant drug, and they had massive psychological problems. So those guys are not in control at all. On the contrary, they're the complete opposite of what a man is. Because as we said, a man is supposed to lead and a man is supposed to serve. We're disposable. We're here to serve our family. That's what masculinity is all about.
Absolutely. So now, as we challenging stuff, I definitely want to answer the question, which is, can we have positive idols of people that we can look up to? Absolutely. So the impact on morality and ethics. It says research from Brigham Young University found that when children and adolescents identify parents or caretakers as role models, they exhibit higher moral reasoning than those that don't. The second one, he kind of briefly talked about the negative side of those who don't have positive psychological outcomes. And research has published in the Journal of Adolescent Health found that adolescents with role models experience higher levels of self-esteem and stronger identity development compared to those without role models. These individuals also reported fewer symptoms of depression. Now, I talked about earlier having friends that didn't have, not saying that they didn't positive role models, because that could still help too, but like father figures. But
Mhm.
also he brought up, which I didn't plan on him talking about, like the school shooters. Not one school shooter has high self esteem. Now one school shooter thinks positively of themselves, because that's just not, you
And they
know.
all knew, all the people around them knew, they recognized issues that were not addressed.
Yeah,
There's and it's not like school shooters is an extreme example. But just the way you described the way you grew up, and you could already identify the people around you. And today, compare, you're 29 years old, you're still green under the ears, bro. You can already see it. You're already able to look at what your mindset is and compare it to the people around you that you grew up that did not have that positive masculinity in their life. It's
right,
always night and day. And the fact that a father is there does not mean he's present,
right,
because that is, my father was there until I was 14, but he wasn't there. I had a father, but he wasn't present.
right.
And I've always wondered, I have no proof. There's no way to prove it, but what's worse? And I've pondered that question. Is it worse to have a father that is there but not present, or is it worse to not have a father?
And
And I
that's
don't know
something.
the answer. Like, I don't know the answer. Like, it's philosophy at this point.
Yeah,
But
I, I was gonna say that's definitely something to cliffhanger, and that's something we get people talking about in the comments.
yeah.
The third one is reduction in risky behaviors. According to National Mentoring Partnership, young adults who have mentors are 55% less likely to use drugs and 45% less likely to use alcohol. An Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention reported stated that youth with positive role models are 53% less likely to skip school and 46 less likely to start using illegal drugs. So pretty good stuff, good information. And this transition well into the next segment, which is the weekly sabbatical. And in this section, we kind of just reflect and reminisce on a few things. And then, of course, I end up with some tips and things that I got for my people. So the first question I have for you is, you've spoken briefly about faith, not just in a religious context, but also as in the belief in oneself and something greater. So how can harnessing the form of faith support young millennial men, and especially in their mental health journey?
Faith is the first step to self-confidence. If you don't first have faith that you can do something, you cannot build self-confidence. Same thing as you cannot build a new relationship, a new meaningful relationship with someone, if you don't first have faith that they are the person they say they are. And how can you ever find purpose if you don't first have faith in the fact that you were put here for a reason?
Right. Yeah, I think that's interesting because most people tend to overlook that for some reason. I don't really
Mhm.
know why, but they
Why
definitely,
they overlook faith?
I think they don't realize the importance of it
No,
for real. I think they really don't see it. But
it's a religious thing. It's
yeah,
because people associate faith with religion as much as it is part of religion, no questions about it. And I am a Christian. Like, I'm not a typical Christian, but I am a
yeah,
Christian.
right.
But at the same time, I was heavily in Buddhism way before I was in Christianity, and you have to have faith.
Yeah,
Faith is everywhere. It's just, to any I challenge anybody out there, instead of using the word faith, start using the word believe, and it replaces it. It's the same thing, but it doesn't have the connotation of a religious term like faith does. But it's the same thing. Faith is more powerful than belief, but at least,
absolutely.
but it changes everything. When you have people that have faith in something greater that knows they are here for a reason, they say faith will move mountains. The lack of faith will build them.
Absolutely. Which goes into this next article I got. It's called Consequences of Idolatry. So now, when we talk about idolatry, we always talk about the negatives effects, mentally, emotionally, a lot of cases, even spiritually. And I'm going to get to that. So it's from the article. It's in Romans 1:21 through 25. Paul describes the consequences of idolatry as follows. But although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him. But their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal human beings and birds and animals and reptiles. Therefore, God gave them over in their sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshiped and served created things rather than the creator who is forever praised. Let me give my take on that. That's an extreme, not extreme. That's an example of what happened in the Bible. But the main thing is about idolizing the wrong people, and in this case, objects and things that aren't right. It will lead to destruction. And destruction doesn't always come instantly. It may take a minute. That's why it gets a lot of people because they didn't see it coming. It
Mhm.
saw you, but you didn't see it. And so it gets you and it just kind of prances on you, like he mentioned earlier, the snake, and it kind of snake through, and then it'll hit you. So I think that's important to always go back to. He talked about faith and his beliefs as this definitely as a believer myself, and that people get so caught up in, I didn't mean to go here today, but here we are. Oh, it's not real. It's a magic book and all that stuff.
Yep.
But here's the thing. I believe it to be 100% real. You don't, that whoever don't, that's on you. But this is what I will say as a writer and a creative myself. Everything has symbolism. And people are so caught up in, being tricked into worship this fake God, whatever, right? But even that's symbolism in itself. When you're putting your ideologies and your faith in things that can't do anything for you and into the wrong things, it leads to destruction. And we live in a society where people make excuses for, I smoke weed because it was mentioned in the Bible, so I can smoke weed and I can do this and all these things. But here's the thing: is the weed really helping you? Like, really? Is it? If you're doing it for like recreation, just to have a good time, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about the people who use it to cope with depression, use it to cope with anxiety. You're using it to cope with things. And I just made a post actually today on Instagram where I'm glad we've been delivered from the thought of I can't be addicted to weed. And people used to argue that tooth
Mhm.
and nail. And I'm like,
Yep.
you can be addicted to sugar, you can be addicted to a person, but you can't be addicted to weed.
It's not even about the substance either.
Right.
It's just that you need something to fill a void. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of looking at the void and figuring out what that void is, you'd rather shove something in it as a distraction of looking in the mirror. It
Right.
could be anything. It could be that you watch too much TV. Like, it could be anything. Anything, you can use anything to fill that void. Weed is just one of the things that you can use.
So now, what advice would you give to anybody who may feel as though they realize they're starting to look up to the wrong people, and then how could they engage in reflection and adjust?
Just the fact that they're realizing it, they're already there.
Okay.
If you're capable of realizing that you might not be idolizing the right people, you're already asking the right questions. Just keep on asking. Keep on, we all have a little voice inside of us. Technically, we have two little voices, one that will doubt you all the time, but there's one being, once you start pushing that doubt voice aside, there's a voice in there that really wants to help you. That's your connection to God. Call it instinct, call it whatever you want. I know it's my connection to God, but whatever you want to call it is fine. But that voice will tell you everything you need to know. You just need to be ready to listen to it and take it for what it is. And if you're already asking those questions, chances are you started to listen. Just continue to listen. Just screw what everybody else says. Just continue to listen. There is a problem with idolizing the wrong people because we don't have them in our real lives. This is the biggest issue. We idolize people that are selling us their perfect life on Instagram and on TikTok. I guarantee you, none of them live the life they're showing you. They don't.
That
They're showing you the highlights of their. There was a great meme. It's a guy in armor that's massively muscular with a sword on the back of a unicorn. This is what social media is. It's really just the highlight. They don't show you all the bullshit that happens, just like it happens in the life of everybody out there.
right. And like I said, if your North Star is one of these, especially in my community, one of these rappers
Hmm.
or somebody who, let's call it space, sold out,
Yeah, yeah.
and they've stole out. They don't want to hear, you don't want to hear about that again. Even in some cases, it was something about, it was the same interview with Harley initiated, and D1 Music, he made a comment about how when he was signed to T.I.'s record label or something like that, he made a comment about, was it T.I.? One of them, he talked about how they were, the media people were looking for OT Genesis because he at the time he had the song "I'm in Love with the Coco," which we all
Yeah.
know is cocaine. And he said the man, one of the people was like, "We need him for this event." But then that same man said, "I don't even let my kids listen to this." So what you just saying is y'all are selling out for money, and that you don't care what happens to the people.
You're a
And even a
hypocrite.
lot of these
You're a
city
hypocrite.
girls and all these people, they don't even live those lives. They
No.
just rap about it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
rapping an alter ego, and in some cases, they're rapping a fantasy for money. But y'all take this as real, and they fake it for social media. Half them people be in relationships. Half them people they over talking about some we women we don't need men, but then they go lay up with their man later at night. So they're forcing you and selling you something that they don't even live.
And that is most of the Hollywood picture that you're seeing today. And if they don't, we idolize girls like Cardi B that's admitted on camera to drugging men for to rob them afterwards. Can you imagine if I did that? Can you imagine that I started robbing women by drugging them and I admitted to that on camera? I'd be in prison. I'd be in prison, no judge, no nothing. I would have been crucified. But yet now we idolize people like her. Our kids or our daughters are like, oh, that's a great woman. Right? She did what she has to do. She's so powerful. No, she's a whore. Call a spade a spade. Like she's a whore. That's it. You can't when you the artist itself is telling you that his kids are not listening to this. You know there's a problem. If his
Yeah,
own kids is not listening to the stuff that he puts out there, you know you're looking at a hypocrite right there.
absolutely. So now we talked about role models and all that good stuff. So I'm leaving my audience with giving you pretty much ways to look at it, but I'm actually flipping it and giving you 5 ways in which you can be the positive male role model. So then that way, if you can learn how to be when you know what to look for, and then you can look for these traits in the people that you want to look up to. And this actually comes from dove.com, surprisingly. So the first one is teach the power of holistic self-care. Research shows men who regularly check in, ask for help, meditate, eat well, exercise, read books, and care for their skin. Men who practice holistic self-care 44% more time caring for others around their household and make them true male role models. The second one is practice empathy and communication, communicating, listening, and never being afraid to ask questions or admit mistakes are all traits of positive male role models. And it helps us break free from societal pressures and the stereotype of men. The third one, I just have what it is: embrace emotional authenticity. Be as true as you can with your emotions. And there's a difference between expressing yourself and being whiny, because there is a big difference. Whiny is just complaining and always, oh, woe is me. But if you express why you didn't like something or what made you mad about this situation, or kind of going from that angle versus just complaining and oh, woe is me. The fourth one is challenge gender roles and stereotypes. It says research shows that boys who see their fathers engaged as full partners in domestic care are 1.5 times more likely to contribute fairly to care in their household. And then it says another study suggests that girls who see their dads engaged as full-time partners are more likely to work outside the home and pursue careers beyond gender stereotypes. And then the last one is support your community. And that one's pretty self-explanatory. And stuff like this is supporting my community. Things that he does supports his community and who he's trying to help. So before we move to the last segment, anything you want to add to that list or just piggyback on?
I would destroy that list. It's so wrong. There's so much
Really?
wrong. Oh yeah, there's so much wrong in what you said.
Okay,
So
good. Let's
much
talk
wrong.
about it.
Because there are gender roles. Fuck that noise that there's no gender roles. Like your
Ha!
number 4 that says as soon as somebody says gender role, I know it's bullshit. There are so let me put it this way. I'm 6'1", I weigh about 210 pounds. My girlfriend's 5'4", she weighs 105 pounds.
Okay.
Who's the protector between the two of us?
You,
Why?
because you're the bigger one
That
and you're the
but
man.
but not only that, but genetically speaking,
Yeah.
I will be bigger, taller, I'm more muscular. I'll be stronger. My bone density is higher. It is proven that I have a higher threshold for pain. I'm more aggressive and I will take more risk. So it only makes sense that I'm the protector. In the same way as if you look at a man, he's supposed to provide. 95% of the 20 most dangerous jobs are done by men. Why? Because they pay more. It's not nobody's saying out there, oh, we don't have enough bricklayers out there. No women is complaining about that. Yet this is a job that sucks and it's a job that is done by men to support their family. It pays more, but nobody's complaining about this. There are gender roles everywhere. The statistics will show you. Look at it. A man does a better job of raising a kid as a single parent than a mother does. The statistics are out there. 90% of kids that are part of a divorce go with a woman. The 10% that don't do better in every single aspect of their lives. Every single one of them. They're more adjusted emotionally. They're better in school. They're more disciplined. They're more helpful. They care for others more. It's incredible when you look at the statistics. So they are gender roles. But the problem that we're having, and what I hate about lists like the one you just provided, is me saying that as a man, I'm supposed to protect and provide does not take anything away from my woman. On the
Right.
contrary, I'm disposable. If you look at history, it's always children and women before. We always take care of our women. How is me taking my responsibility of becoming a protector and a provider and being courageous taking anything away from my woman? On the contrary, if you look, I was raised by a single woman. She was not able to be her full feminine person. She was not able to show me emotional intelligence from a young age, because that is the role of a mother. A role of a father is to show discipline. The role of a mother is to show emotional connection, because she is the first woman I've ever loved. No wonder most of my relationship with women have always been garbage, because the first person that I loved as a woman was not there for me to teach me this, because she was too busy trying to be a man and trying to be a woman at the same time. And she was trying to be both energies, masculine and feminine at the same time, that she did none of it properly. But this does not take away from anything. On the contrary, why do you think that if you look at studies right now, 90% of men, 90% of engineers are men, and it's even higher than that, but let's say 90%.
Yeah.
Now they're starting to see that people in the medical field, not just nurses, because right now 86.6% of nurses in the US are women, but now they're starting to see in medicine as a whole, as a field of study, it's more than 70% are women. And don't worry, 20 years from now, it will be 90% of people in medicine will be women. Why? They care more, they're more compassionate, they're kinder, they care about others. It goes with their natural traits. We're protectors, we're providers. You know what? They care. That's what women do. Does
Yeah.
that mean that they can't be a protector too? No, of course not. They can be a protector, but that's not their main role. And the same way as a man can be emotional, but that's not our main role. Our main role is to be
Right.
stoic so that our woman can be as emotional as they want. So this is where as soon as I hear gender roles are everywhere, and it always comes from feminists. But you know what happens the day shit hits the fan? A feminist turns into the most feminine person ever and calls a man to come help her. Every time, it never fails.
Now, see, here's the thing, because a lot of the things, if not most things, I agree with you on.
Mhm.
Now, when I got this list, see, and I'm looking at it from a different lens. I'm
Yep.
looking at it from the lens of like, I'm all for self care, and self care is just not like a manicure, pedicure. Like,
Mhm.
I'm all for, I had this issue with my back. I was getting massage therapy. That was a form of
Yeah, but
self
that's being
care.
smart. Men are dumb when it comes to that. And I'll be
Yeah.
the first one. I've had a lot of surgeries and I've always waited. So yes.
Yeah, I gotta get stuff before I get stuff before surgery. I ain't got time. You know, the whole practicing empathy thing. More so, I think that because I don't when they talk about toxic masculinity, because here's the thing. I said this on a few episodes and I caught flack for it. I'm anti-feminist, but I am pro women empowerment. I'm all for women empowering you
Mhm.
when I'm a strong woman, but I'm
100%.
anti-feminist for sure.
You don't like
Because
the third wave of feminism.
yeah,
The first two, they wanted to vote and they wanted to be equal in the face of the law. I
yeah,
couldn't agree with that more.
right.
But now they want to replace what they perceive as a patriarchy by a matriarchy.
Yeah,
That Me
no,
Too movement is the third wave of feminism. It's bullshit. That part, bro, we agree. The first two, though, I they deserve to be
yeah.
equal to men when it comes to the law. Come on, like, they
Right.
deserve the same rights as we do.
Yeah, they're not animals. but For real, that's how they were treated. And so I agree with again with embracing emotional authenticity. And like you
Mhm.
said, I actually was surprised you didn't agree with that one, only because earlier you mentioned how a lot of these boys and things that they had they a man should have temperament, can control themselves, right?
Yep.
We don't
Yep.
see that in today's society. A lot of
No.
men they don't realize that anger is an emotion. So when you're quick to get angry and yell and ready to fight, and I'm gonna just beat everybody up, half of y'all can't even fight. But when you quick,
Half as a fighter, I can tell you it's like 99.9% of guys out there can't fight worth a
so
shit.
you can't so I'm thinking that's good because you can able to communicate and regulate what's going on within you so that you don't go to that level, because I don't see anything wrong with going to a therapist. I've been to a therapist two
Hmm?
different occasions, and most toxic men will say I don't need a therapist, I need my friends, but your friends don't know nothing, so I don't get that. Now, what we can say with the challenging gender roles, I don't like that title. I agree with you on that, but I think that in this one it is a little
But
weird.
it doesn't come from the man, though.
That
That
too.
emotional intelligence does not come from the father, it comes from the mother.
Mhm.
This is why I don't like those lists, because it's like, it's not the job of a father to show that to his son. It's really the job of the mother to show him how to be kind and compassionate. Men, on the other hand, will show him like, look at the Greeks when they did when they the 300 movie. Every man out there has seen it, but the agoge that's based on the Greeks, the boys would spend most of their time with their mothers until the age of 7 or 8. Why?
Mhm.
So that they could have that emotional connection, so that they could be taught to be kind. That's why it was mostly with their mother throughout that. But then when they were 8, they were taken by men, because a man needs to be surrounded by men in order to learn what it is to be a man. There's
Right.
no, it's so, and that's why when they say there's no gender roles, it's bullshit. There's gender roles everywhere. It's just we don't want to admit to it because we believe that it takes away from others. But
Yeah.
my girlfriend is more compassionate, she's more kind than I am. Does that mean I'm not kind and compassionate? Of course not. But to me, it is worked on. I had to acquire that. She has that by nature. She has it. She is a lot nicer than I am. It is the
Yeah.
way that she is. But she be aggressive? 100%. Can she be aggressive on my level? Fuck no. Hell no. Hell no. But those are natural skills, and this is the thing: when they say gender role, they take away from natural abilities, things that were given to us by God to operate in a certain way. And it is sexist, it is misogynist, I don't care, it's still a reality.
And we hear all about the reality. So let's go to the final segment, and this is game time. This game is called American Idol. Now, this game is simply, I'm just the conversation has been great, and I knew that. But this game is naming several figures, and I want you to tell me whether or not they are a good idol, a good, I'll say good role model. We'll use the term
Sure.
role model, and
Sure.
versus or a bad one. All
Cool.
right. All right. The first one, rapper Drake.
Oh man, no good. No good. And he's Canadian. Fucking asshole.
Andrew Tate.
Depends.
Okay. Why you say
But
depend?
I don't like the way he made his money. I don't like that he exploited young men, because basically he sold sex to young men. So he took money away from men with porn addiction in order to get rich. I have a problem with that. Do I agree with a lot of the things that he says? Absolutely. Do I agree in the way that he delivers his message? Not really. But again, we're not talking to the same people. I talk to people that are more educated than the people he talks to. I try to talk from an experience, but also literate place. Like I'm trying to explain it in a way that is based on history. But again, Andrew Tate's very smart. If you hear him speak, he's extreme. He ain't. People that think he's an idiot, he don't underestimate that guy. He is brilliant.
People think
But
he's an idiot.
oh man, anytime you see a video from him, half of the comments are calling him an idiot. But it's because he's very polarizing. He is not an idiot. He's extremely intelligent. It's just, do I agree with the way he delivers his message? Not always. Do I agree with his message? Yeah, most of the time. But I don't like the way he made his money. That's why I'm saying it depends.
in his defense, I will defend him because at least he owns it. But
I agree.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we talked
but you'll never
accountability,
hear me say about anybody that they're a perfect idol. There's no such
right?
thing.
Yeah,
Somebody
exactly,
I spoke
exactly.
to years ago told me there's no great men, just great ideas.
Mm, okay, I like that.
Because you can find flaws everywhere you want. I'll
Right?
find flaws in anything, right?
Yeah, yeah. Barack Obama.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm more of a conservative, so I'm not a fan. I love the way he speaks. I'll give him credit. He's a great orator. Love the way he speaks. Absolutely love the way he speaks, but I don't like that he didn't achieve much in 8 years. I don't like the fact that he was nominated or even received a Nobel Prize for peace when he's the president that bombed the Middle East the most. Out of all the presidents, he's the one that did it the most, but somehow he was, I don't remember if he won it, but I know he was chosen to receive it. It's bullshit. I don't like politicians in general, so
I don't need them. But what's this? We hear one more. Donald Trump.
that's another very interesting one because you know what he did during the 4 years, he treated the country like a business. Should somebody take away his fucking phone so he stops posting dumb shit all the time? Yes, but if you can remove the personality that most people don't like, me included, he's done a lot more for the country that he didn't. Because you know what, if I come from a country that's becoming a communist country, and when he was in power, I was like, holy shit. He was treating it like any other business. He didn't care the way you taught. He didn't care about the way you felt about what he was doing, but he treated it like a business. The economy in the US was doing great when he was there. He was
Yeah,
starting to bring all the jobs back. All the jobs that went to China, they were all coming back to the US because he understood it's a business. You want to have the money here. You want to use your resources in order to build the products that you need. But unfortunately, he'll never get the credit that he deserves just
no,
because his person. Can you imagine if he would have spoke like Obama and did what Trump did? It would have been the best president that ever lived.
ever, ever.
Yeah. See, we agree. See, I'm a libertarian, bro. I'm somewhere in the middle. I can see
Yeah,
some good in what Obama did. I can see some great stuff in Trump, as I can see a lot of stupid shit on both sides. I see stupid stuff everywhere, but I see good stuff
same.
everywhere too. So
Yeah, same. All right, last two. Michael Jordan.
I love his mindset.
Okay.
If so, don't just watch the documentary that they did on Netflix, which I absolutely love. Go listen to Winning by I can't remember what his name. It's one of the best book I've ever read. It's Winning, but it's his coach. It's his personal coach that actually wrote the book. The book is absolutely amazing. He talks about a lot about MJ and Kobe.
Okay.
MJ's
Last
a
one.
MJ is a monster.
Oh yeah,
Michael
for sure.
Jordan is a beast of mindset. The understanding that he had is none. And fuck LeBron James. Just gonna put it out there.
Last one. Elon Musk.
Love Elon Musk. He's a nut job at the same time as I love him, but we have to understand that he's not normal. That guy, if you have to start from the understanding that he's on the spectrum. Like that
Mhm.
guy's a savant. Like that guy's not normal. When you see him in interviews, he takes 30 seconds pause to answer the question. Like somebody had ask a question, he just stays there and he thinks about it. And he probably invented something else in his mind and then he answers the question. But I like what he stands for, at least what it looks like he stands for. Because he seems to be the only guy out there that still promotes freedom of speech.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. So let's go to the final question or challenge for the week. And this is for y'all to do. What are some traits in people or public figures you look up to and why? This is also not just to say, this is also a self reflecting thing for y'all to answer because it also sees, do you look up to the wrong things? Like, oh, I like how he has a lot of money. Oh, I like how he has a bunch of cars. Like that. That's kind of what we trying to get to the root of. So this episode was definitely great, definitely insightful, definitely some points in here that I could see going viral. Anything you want to add or say before you go today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. Great conversation.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, y'all. So next week marks November, and that's my favorite month because I love to eat on Thanksgiving. And it's going to be another great episode. So tune in for that. As always, PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And I love us for